Hey there, if Democrats lose to Trump yet again, these are all the red flags. Democrats, you have only about 100 days until the midterm elections, and you don't have control of either chamber anywhere close to being locked up. What are we talking about here? Well, we're talking, first off, we're talking about cash on hand. We're talking about cash on hand. You know, Democrats, they're much more like this. They're your $1 bills. While Republicans, you're much more like this, your 50s, and dare I say, even your $100 bills. Because just take a look here. Cash on hand from the main outside groups, ergo your congressional committees, right, your NRSC. Take a look here. Republicans at this point, $657 million. My goodness gracious, that's why I'm talking about these bills, right, $100 bills. While the Democrats, only about $334 million, only about half the level of Republicans. And of course, cash is what makes the world go round in politics. Now, you think that these numbers are bad? How about the national committees themselves? The RNC, the DNC, Republican National Committee, Democratic National Committee. Look at this. Cash they have, June 2026. The RNC, $129 million. That's pretty gosh darn good, right? But get this, the Democrats are a rarity. The DNC is red on your screen. Why are they red? Because they're literally in the red, way down there. They're actually in negative territory. That's cash on hand subtracted by the party debt. The party debt actually is greater than the cash on hand. The Democratic National Committee, it's broke. It's basically broke. And why is this? What is going on here? And it is because Democratic enthusiasm for the Washington establishment, it is way down there underwater, under the Potomac River. Look at this. Look at this. I mean, hello, approve of their own party in Congress. We're talking about a new Tea Party here. You know, back in July of 2010, when Republicans really did not like their congressional leadership, right? Really didn't like it. Still, 52% of Republicans approved of their own party in Congress. Look at where Democrats are now. They are in a worse position, the Democrats in Congress, than Republicans were during their Tea Party wave of 2010. Now Democrats, they can't even reach the 50% mark, and we're talking within their own party. I mean, my goodness gracious. And of course, this to me is part of a larger problem that Democrats have when it comes to their own popularity. You know what it is? It's way down there underwater. Take a look at this. Okay, the Democratic Party net favorability. Back in 2018, when Democrats were able to take control of the House, they were actually on the plus side of the ledger. They were actually in positive territory at plus 1 point. Look now in 2026. We're not just talking down there underneath the Potomac. We're talking down there with the Titanic. We're talking 24 points underwater. And this is just the party overall. This isn't the congressional leadership. This is the party. The party. It's just a terrible, terrible, terrible brand. Terrible. I want to almost get my Charles Barkley. Terrible, terrible. I can't even do a Charles Barkley. But the bottom line is it's absolutely terrible. Now, what is the reasons? Why is the Democratic brand so terrible? Well, one reason why the Democratic brand is so terrible at this point in the voters' minds is, take a look at this trend line. Voters saying that Democrats are too liberal. In 1996, it was 42%. In 2013, it was 58%. Now, the clear majority of Americans believe, and the clear majority of voters say that the Democratic Party is too liberal. 57%, they think that the Democratic Party is out of the mainstream, out of the frame, I dare say. My God, this is a massive, massive problem. And you know what is fueling that? You know what's only adding fuel to the fire? How about the Democratic Socialists of America? You know, I mentioned a new Tea Party. Net favorable opinion of the Tea Party back in June of 2010 versus the Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA, right now. Remember, the Tea Party helped keep Democrats in control of the United States Senate back in 2010 because Republicans ran all these candidates that were just seen out of the mainstream, right? Christine O'Donnell in Delaware. How about Ken Buck in Colorado? How about Sharon Angle, who did the impossible in Nevada and helped get Harry Reid another term in the United States Senate? Well, their net favorable rating back in June of 2010, 13 points underwater. Not too hot to trot. Not too hot to trot, but not absolutely terrible compared to the DSA now, 25 points underwater. Twice as unpopular as the Tea Party was back in June of 2010. Now, let's broaden this out a little bit. Let's talk about what we're talking about. What are the effects of this? How could this play out? Well, how about this? How about House candidates' money raised? You know, it's not as bad for Democrats in the House as it is for their party committees, but still, they're in a worse position now in terms of the percentage of cash that's been raised by Democrats versus Republicans. We're talking about they get 55% of the cash raised. That is down from the 61%. So even though Democrats are ahead in the cash race for the House candidates, they are in a worse position than they were back in 2018 when they took back the House. Now, this to me is part of what we're seeing in the overall House picture, right? The playing field is smaller for Democrats. House seats at least leaning towards the GOP according to the Cook Political Report. This is the Trump midterms. Back in July of 2018, it was 206 seats at this point that were leaning towards the GOP, at least leaning. Now it's 212 in a race to 218. Republicans are nearly to that 218 marker. Now, I'm not saying they're going to get there, but they're much closer than they were at this point in the 2018 cycle. Now, this is, again, part of a larger trend that we're seeing. National trend lines. Democrats lead on the generic ballot. Again, midterms with the Republican president. In 2006, Democrats were up by 10 points. They took back the House. In 2018, they were up by 8 points, very similar to 10. Now that lead is on one hand. It's just 5. It's just 5 points. Now, why is this 5 points so important? Because Republicans have helped make it so important. How? Through the redistricting efforts. The redistricting efforts, which means so much. Okay, Democrats in the National House vote margin, their current poll lead nationally is 5. How much do they need to win back the U.S. House of Representatives? Well, with redistricting, we're talking about 3 to 4. Democrats are right on the margin. Republicans have made them right on the margin. So the race for the House is not anywhere close to being cinched up for the Democrats. Now, you might notice, I've been saying a lot in a lot of period of time. I'm a little, woo! So today, to quench my thirst, oh yeah, I got myself a Canada Dry, zero sugar, cherry fruit splash. All right, let's have a little bit of it. Oh, I love cherry. Okay, it's a march to the finish here. We're nearly done. All right, we've talked about the House, but perhaps the biggest problem for for Democrats is in the race for Senate control. Okay, so let's just talk about the math that is needed here. The math that's needed. States Dems need to win the Senate. They need a total net gain of 4 seats. Well, three of these seats they'll have to pick up are in states that Trump won. Back in 2024. And I'll note the one blue state is Maine. And let's be real, at this point, that is very TBD, given all the Graham-Plattner stuff and then having to bring in a new Democratic candidate. That is very TBD. So even that blue state, not anywhere close to being cinched. Now, we're talking about those red states, right? And only one of those states was won by Trump by a small margin. That was North Carolina, +3 in terms of the pickup opportunities. The rest, Ohio, Alaska, Iowa, Texas, all won by Trump by double digits. We are talking really a lot of states that are on the board that are really red-leaning. That's what's going on here. And you know what? We can go back through history. We can go back to the last Trump midterm election and think, okay, did they pick up any states like this? Well, no, not really. Talk about the 2018 red state Dem pickups. There's just a single one. Just a single numero uno. Just one, baby. Just one. That was Arizona. And Trump won that state by just 4 points, much more like a North Carolina, right? And Kristen Sinema, the Democrat, she was then a Democrat, she only won it by 2. So there's no real history of this going on here. Now, if we're talking just generally speaking, you can see this here, again, in the 6 key states that we're looking at, the generic ballot lead for the Republicans +6. Again, 53% of Democrats 53% of the voters in those key swing states say that the Democratic Party is too far to the left. So the Senate battleground, much more even extreme than what we see nationally. Finally, I'll just note in terms of the prediction markets at this point, which kind of brings it all together, the chance to win the Senate, back in April 24th, there was about a 50-50 shot By July 24th, look at that. The Republican chances now, we put it all together, they're at a 56% chance. But you know what? I would argue the biggest red flag that Democrats have, the biggest red flag, look at this. It's apathy, not believing that Democrats can change anything. Because the impacts of Democratic policies on your cost of living, only 41% say help. Hurt or wouldn't change it? The clear majority, nearly 3 in 5, 59%. So, look, these are all the red flags. If, in fact, Democrats can't take back control of either the House and or the Senate, and if Trump can stop them, this is what's going on. Folks, if you like what you heard, why don't you leave a comment? We'll see if we'll be able to delve into those issues next time around.